Let's look at the rhetoric. We had the president saying those words, and we had the Secretary of State dialing them back a bit, saying Americans can sleep well at night. What's going on here?
We're certainly seeing a bit of inconsistency coming out of Washington in terms of American policy on North Korea. There's a severe shortage of Northeast Asia specialists, both at the State Department and Pentagon. And Mr. Trump and Mr. Tillerson, frankly, have been sending mixed signals and speaking to different audiences in terms of where the United States stands with regards to North Korea. We've seen a lot of tweets and rhetoric coming out of Mr. Trump himself directly, which are also very dangerous and disturbing because it leaves a lot of room for misinterpretation when you're dealing with a regime as unpredictable as North Korea.
So you say they're talking to different audiences. Tillerson clearly speaking to the average American, saying don't hide under your beds just yet, sleep in them comfortably. Is Trump, or does Trump think anyway, he is speaking directly to the leadership of North Korea and hoping to intimidate them?
It's entirely possible. I don't know exactly what is going on in Mr. Trump's head, but what I do know is that from the North Korean perspective, he is providing them with what exactly they need to keep going with their military programs, because his comments are often inconsistent, incoherent, and very bellicose in nature. So if the purpose of deterrence is to convince the other side that the cost of aggression is such that it is better to go for peace, then he's sending very mixed signals in terms of where the United States stands. And if Pyongyang is actually listening, he is repeating some of the rhetoric that Pyongyang used 20 years ago when they said they will turn Seoul into a sea of fire. So very dangerous all around.
This latest spat, if you will, really seems to have been triggered by the Washington Post saying that intelligence officials had told them that North Korea had this smaller nuclear warhead and they believed the nuclear missile or the missile capability to deliver it to U.S. territory. Presumably the president had been informed of this before, but what do you think the reality is of the nuclear potential and the ability to act on that of North Korea?
So, John, I think the key problem here is their re-entry technology. So North Korea has been consistently investing and improving upon their nuclear technology, but the re-entry technology, which is essentially if a nuclear warhead could survive the heat and re-enter from atmosphere into the space, and actually have the targeting ability to make any sort of significant impact is the key question here. We don't know if North Korea actually has that capability. So the latest report that we've seen about nuclear warheads that could fit into intercontinental ballistic missile remains as an untested capability. But if it is proven to be true, then it marks another stage in terms of where North Korea could go with their nuclear technology.
So in other words, to get the trajectory that they need to deliver that to U.S. territory, it has to go up so high into the atmosphere. They may be able to send a missile up there, but bringing it down, keeping that nuclear warhead intact so it can do damage on the ground, that's the disconnect we have at this point in our understanding of their technology.
Yeah, and that would be the key piece in terms of, how dangerous is it in terms of actual targeting abilities on the continents of the United States, and how worried we should be, because I think that remains as a big unknown, and we have to wait and see if it can be verified.
Let's talk about the threat of words, the danger of words. Is there a risk that when you have leaders from either country playing to a domestic audience in many respects, is there a danger that someone will say something too far such that they have to act because of potential domestic pressure?
Certainly, that's a very likely conclusion you could drive in terms of the rhetoric we've seen. But, John, I think we also have to remember where Korean Peninsula is located. It's at the center of Northeast Asia, with neighbors like China, Russia, Japan, and South Korea certainly doesn't want another war with North Korea. So, yes, we're hearing a lot of rhetoric between the United States and North Korea, but the combined military capabilities in that region is one of the highest in the world, and the neighbors certainly don't want war, even if North Korea and the United States were very much interested in it. We have 28,500 U.S. troops stationed in South Korea, and that alone is a significant aspect for the United States to consider before launching any sort of attack on North Korea, because conventional weapons across both sides of the 38th parallel are such that they're enough to cause a lot of damage very quickly. So from the South Korean perspective, their concern is not some ICBM or nuclear weapons, it's the actual conventional weapons capability that North Korea has.
As you say, militarily and geographically, any fire that gets lit could really spread out of control.
Right, and the risk is so high that I think they will have to think very carefully before making any military move.
Tina, I want to thank you so much for explaining what is a very complicated and potentially dangerous issue.
Thanks for having me.
Tina Pak is an expert on North Korea, and she's the executive director and co-founder of the Canadian Centre for the Responsibility to Protect, a nonprofit that focuses on protecting people in peril.